Isaiah 41:10. Isaiah 41:10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. So this week is, I don't even know the days anymore. It's a lot. I was gonna say too many, but of course, I mean, from my perspective, waiting, my waiting is only growing longer, and although like as it grows longer, proportionally it also grows shorter. I guess the time between where I am now till when I finally receive whatever God has for me is growing shorter. But the amount of time I've been waiting is growing longer as the days go on. So I guess it's a thing of perspective. I was really discouraged. I don't know if I was discouraged or just really impatient during this week, and I just started to feel it because most of these days now I'm home all day and I don't have to wake up at a certain time in the morning. I mean, I have classes on Monday to Thursday, but like I can literally roll out of bed and go to class. There's no real priority for me to go to sleep early or to just have a really strict schedule as if I was working, So I just sitting at home all day, it's not the worst thing in the world, but when I'm impatient and like when I've grown impatient, it just like dawns upon me that I feel like I should be doing something. I feel like I shouldn't. There's no way that God wants me to, literally be doing nothing. And so like even just that thought, like, am I really supposed to be doing nothing? And I'm growing impatient, and I haven't, I've prayed and prayed this week alone. Today's Saturday. This whole week alone, I've prayed and prayed, like, should I be doing something? I'm growing impatient, I'm growing restless. Should I be doing something? Is there anything that I could do? Is there anything that I'm not doing that I should be doing? And like my impatience and that thought, which is a result of my impatience, just really started to force me to really get desperate and pray to God all hours of the night. Even if it's just short little prayers, just praying to God, like, is this really like it? Like, am I really supposed to be doing nothing right now? And I was basically asking for encouragement, as I often do when I grow this impatient, because I know that it's momentary, but the longer it sits, the more it marinates. And so I really desperately prayed for encouragement, and I was finding glimpses and pieces of it. And when I pray for encouragement, I seek encouragement. I seek to see if God is using anything to encourage me. It could be something small, and I would be like, all right, this is, more encouraging than it isn't, and I would try to be like, God's encouraging me. Through my desperate prayers, I got little, bits and pieces of it, and like in my devotional, I would get something that would, encourage me for that moment. And just 2 days ago, I was up like 3, I guess, in the morning or something like that. It was crazy time. And I, scrolled through YouTube, and I saw a message from Stephen Furtick that he preached a couple of months ago, called Unschedulable Blessings. It's not a word, but that's the title of the sermon. And when I saw the title, I thought about like this is my encouragement. This is where it's gonna come from, and the title was just so fitting, unschedulable blessings. And I just immediately thought about how I tried to, immediately thought about how, and then throughout the sermon, I'm just like, yeah, I definitely tried to schedule God into a 50 days from when I applied, 70 days from when I applied. I think I'm around that number when I applied for the job, and just like how, it's been going. And just trying to fit him into a schedule, trying to just look at things that happened even last year when I was waiting for God. And just realizing that, he's not going to work on my timeline. And I kind of spoke about this in the last video about how, God is unpredictable, and he's probably going to continue to be unpredictable. But in the sermon, Stephen Furtick was just talking about how, God is unschedulable, and he's gonna just move on his own time. He'll be early or he'll be late. He will let Lazarus die just so he could go raise him from the dead. He does things intentionally, and he operates on his own time. And as a believer, if you don't know it, he'll show it to you. He spoke about Abraham, who was the nation of Israel was going to be birthed out of him, and how he received that word from God at 75 years old. So he's already too late to have children. He's already past that age, as well as his wife, and he received the promise at 75 years old. Already too late. 25 years later, when he's 100 years old, he will finally receive that promise. And in the 51st minute of that video, Furtick mentioned Abram and the story, and how Abraham basically compromised. He looking at his circumstances or whatever, he compromised and slept with Hagar. And through that compromise, it really showed how human Abraham was, I guess, because he's looking at his situation, and he's already too old, as well as his wife, and he receives a promise from God, and now he's trying to take matters into his own hands. And I immediately thought about how it's a compromise, and how I was tempted so much to not compromise, as Abraham did. Our situations are drastically different. I feel like his is more weighted, but how there was an opportunity for me to compromise multiple times, and that temptation and that thought came into my mind multiple times, about how, especially when I started thinking about, am I doing too much? Can I be doing more? Can I be doing less? And not compromising, just not applying for another job, not trying to even seek and search for another job, just holding on to, God, and trusting him all the way through it, no matter how, crazy the circumstance may seem, just holding on to what God has said. And when Jesus, he mentioned, Furtick mentioned in his message, a New Testament story about, I think, either with a woman with the issue of the blood, or I think it was Jairus, when his daughter was dying, and he was going through the crowds, and then a woman touched the hem of his garment. Then eventually the Jairus' daughter died, and Jesus says in that story, just don't be afraid, just believe. I think that when I started off this with Isaiah 41:10, which I did today in my devotional, which was a separate day from when I heard this message. And this is like a pattern of just don't be afraid, just believe, hope in God. And it's so encouraging to me to hear and to read that Jesus uses those words. Don't be afraid, just believe. It's the just believe part, because you try to believe in anything else but God as the thing that's gonna help you. It's so uncertain. If you've ever believed in something that is not God and is so uncertain and it fails you, and that process of belief, no matter what it is, if you're going through a process of belief in something that isn't God or even is God, it gets to a point where it's trying and it's hard to continue to believe, and you get tested along the way. And no, I don't think anything else can promise you the way that God can promise things to you. And to hear and to know that about God, and to hear God say, don't be afraid, just believe in me. He has confidence in himself to tell you that, and he wants you to just believe in him, because he's more than capable. And I guess it's through the lens of the season that I'm in right now and the position that I'm in right now that those two words, just believe, coming from Jesus' mouth, is so encouraging and uplifting. But if you apply that to anything that you're dealing with, you're seeing the circumstance, whatever, to just believe, and not just believe in the thing that you are hoping for, but to believe in Jesus being capable to give you whatever it is he wants to give you, as the result of your prayers or answer to your prayers. It's so encouraging, and that's all I really need in this season is to be encouraged, for God to allow me to walk through this season and not faint and not fall and not give up, and to just believe in him. And even when he does deliver on whatever he has for me, that it will continue to be a process of just believing. It will always be just believe in Jesus, just believe in God. And this is kind of off topic, but it's just something that came into my mind. Like, the election process coming up, and like, for me, I'm at a point where it's like, who cares? It doesn't matter to me, because God has constantly written history. So if I am so easy to have faith. It's so easy for me to have faith in God for the really big picture things, like who's the president or what's going on with the world. It's so easy for me to have faith in God for those type of things versus in my own personal life, and seeing how, what God's gonna do in my own personal circumstances. Because I really don't care who becomes the next president. I know that God is in control. That's easy for me to believe. And it's so much harder for me to see him actually to continue to have faith, and to have long-suffering faith for the things in my life. And I'm up to Job 17, chapter 17, and he's basically going back and forth with the miserable comforters, as he called them in Job 16. And in Job 17, he is his subheading is "Where is my hope?" And he's basically saying that he's losing hope, and he's losing hope because he's not receiving encouragement. He's not hearing from the voice of God, and he's in this situation, and he's basically losing hope, and he doesn't want to live. And I don't think it's coincidental that I'm reading this book right now, but just seeing how even him in the situation that he's in, he's losing hope, and then other times he can say confidently, I still hope in God. And he will continue to draw on the nature of God to try to explain like what he's feeling, or why he's feeling what he's feeling, how God could be testing testing him, but he never denies God's presence. He never denies the existence of God, despite his unwavering belief in him through all the things that he's going through his high hopes, through his low hopes. The most hope that he loses is like his ambition in life, that he doesn't want to live anymore. That's sometimes encouraging, just to know that, not alone, and God works in very, very mysterious ways. And I went way over the time that I expected to, but God spoke to me. So